Hi guys, do you want to learn what is Scrum? And if you are here, I'm assuming that you are kind of new to Scrum or new to software development itself. And if you want to learn Scrum, I will say that you are on the right track. It is probably one of the most widely used agile frameworks, and it is really popular. In fact, there are a lot of jobs for Scrum masters and product owners, and gradually you can say that Scrum Master is replacing project managers, conventional project managers, and product owner is dominating the business analysis field. So it's a very good idea to learn Scrum. So in this video, we will simply scratch the surface because we can't cover a lot of details in one single video. So we will just understand what is a Scrum. So if you look at this image, and if you are from US, or if you know this American rugby or American football, you know that Scrum is the formation where everybody comes together and work as a team. So that is the basis of this term, where you can say that it reflects that Scrum mean team effort. So in fact, the origin of this word is coming from American football. In order to understand what is Scrum in the context of software development, we first need to understand basically it's an agile software development methodology. Now, I'm not going to expand this definition a lot because that will create confusion. So, you might ask, why do we need Scrum? Or if Scrum is new, we have been building software for so long now, what we were doing earlier. So earlier we were using waterfall methodology. So it's a phase-wise development, where everything will happen in phases. So it's like, the initial phase where you will do requirement gatherings. The development will not start unless this requirement gathering phase is completed. So it was a very phase-wise development, very strict about it. And because the next phase will not start unless the current phase is done. So let's say you are in the development phase and then you get a new requirement. Now everybody is running here and there because they don't know what exactly we should do with this requirement, and there were a lot of bureaucratic processes were set in place, like change control management, CR processes, all these kind of things, just to handle maybe one single requirement or any, even if it is a minor change. So it was quite cumbersome to handle changes, and software is a very dynamic field. It's always evolving. Maybe if you start a software development today, and if it is going to run for next 12 months, maybe by the end of the software development cycle you realize that you wanted some other color or some other feature. Let's say there is login functionality in that website or app, and maybe now in 12 months there is a better technology, safer technology to handle login. So of course you would like to have that in your app, but you can't do that because it's a phase wise development, and now we are in the last phase of the project. So it wasn't very user friendly, you can say. So, and in general it's still can be used for very smaller softwares, or some project where everything is kind of static. So you have all the information, you don't expect any change, maybe you can still go ahead with waterfall. But most of the developments are quite dynamic in nature. That's why we need Scrum, because Scrums helps you in, you can say it's a iterative approach where you build something. Let's say I have to build a website. So now I will break down this entire website into smaller features. I will write user stories for these features. I will pick one element, and I will have 2 to 4 weeks of a sprint where the development will happen. I will work on one particular, or you can say a set of user stories. I will show it to the client, get their feedback. So let's say now they wanted a different login methodology or feature. What I can do, I can add new user stories for that and put that in the next sprint, which is the next development cycle. So entire development is not happening in phases. It's happening in the sprint, and all the activities like requirement gathering, development, testing, everything is happening again and again in the sprint. So if you have 10 sprints, you will start with something small, more like MVP, build it, show it to the client, get the feedback. So to explain it better, let's look at this, or rather these diagrams. So let's say we are talking about waterfall. So in waterfall, like I said, everything will happen in phases. So you can say, initially the project will start. So there will be project inception. But in terms of development, uh, by and large, you can say the first phase will be requirement or business analysis. Then you will have development, which is like coding, testing, everything, which includes unit testing, not the functional testing. And then we will have testing phase where we will have functional testing, UAT, etc. And then we will go live. So this phase is static. Now let's say if you are in this phase, you get a new requirement, then it has to go through change control board. A lot of bureaucratic processes will they will kick in, and it's a lot of, you can say, we will end up wasting a lot of time. And when there are lots of new requirements, then the entire project itself becomes a problem, and the project itself could be at risk. So in Scrum, what we do, we build the entire development in the sprint. So you can say, let's say we estimated that it will take 6 months, and for simplicity, let's say we thought, okay, we will use 4 weeks for a sprint. So we will have total 6 sprint. So what will happen? A sprint is like this cycle. So input will be your product backlog. So what is your product backlog? This is nothing else than basically, you can say, the overall set of requirements. So it will be all user stories. Out of these user stories, you will select, let's say we had 100 requirements. We will use 10 requirements or user stories for this particular sprint. So they will move here. It will become your sprint backlog. So this is product backlog. When you select or assign few user stories to a particular sprint, it's called a sprint backlog. So this sprint will have all these phases. So all these things, or rather all these activities. So business analysts or product owners, they will refine those user stories. So essentially they will perform the business analysis. So they will perform business analysis, then developers will develop them, testers will test them, and then they will go live. We will show it to the client will share their feedback, and then let's say we get some defects, we get some new change. Those new requirements will come back to your product backlog. So this product backlog will again be analyzed, prioritized, and we will again select another set of user stories. It could be 10, it could be 9. So it's not like you have to always select equal number of user stories. Whatever product owner and team decide, and they will select those user stories, they will be passed through this sprint, and this cycle will continue till the project is completed. Now, of course, I have compressed everything, and if you have questions, please leave your comments, because I'm quite sure you will have questions. I have my own entire course on business analysis and Scrum. I have left the link in the description. Feel free to check that out. But you will need lot more videos, lot more coaching to thoroughly learn Scrum and get hands-on with it. But in the meantime, please subscribe. Please share it with your friends, because that really helps a lot. So, and of course, as I said earlier, if you have any questions, please leave your comments.